Friday, Flosstube. Hello, crafty friends. How's everybody doing today? My name's Caroline. Welcome back. Welcome back to my channel. I'm gonna have to get used to saying welcome back to my daily crafty chat video. I've moved down to 2 videos a week. So today is the second video of this week. So Fridays are probably mostly going to be a little bit of catch up from what's been going on through the week, and also I've got some more funny crafting stories to share with you today. Before I get into that, I got some things in the mail that I wanted to share with you first. Look at this. Look at this mug. Hello, crafty friends. As you can see, I have a new mug. Are you ready to see the other side? Off the Grid Needlearts. And there's me. Oh my goodness, can you believe this? Do you recognize the piece? I'm sure you do, because most of you have been looking at it for the last 2 years. This is the most amazing artist's recreation of Savon, done by Charley Waters, and John Potter Valentine made the mug. They worked together to create this amazing piece for me, and it just got it. I just picked it up from my post box this morning, and so I didn't make a coffee in it just yet because it was really cold and I didn't want to fill it with hot liquid. I thought I would let it get to room temperature first and wash it, and then I'm actually gonna save this. I'm not gonna drink any coffee out of this until I make the move into my new workspace, and this is going to come with me, and I'm going to have a very special first mug of coffee in my new workspace when I finally move in my mug. Isn't it fantastic? So many of you will have seen my friend Ellen, Maximum Cross Stitch Power Hour. I met Charley and John through Ellen. They are out in Winnipeg, and I'll show you their card. So Charley and John are the ones that made my Luna mug. Just hang on, I have to go and get their card. And they are the Canvas and Clay Gallery in Beau Séjour. I know I'm saying that wrong. And Ellen taught me how to say it once, and it was like last year, and I can't remember. But in Beau Séjour, Manitoba. So there's their information. Canvas and Clay Gallery. You can follow them on Instagram. And they are the pair who make the mugs. A mug of your pet. Your pet's mug on a mug, and they are amazing. And so I asked Charley and John if they would help me make Ellen a Christmas present, and it was going to be a mug for her channel with Maximum Cross Stitch Power Hour on it, and it had you know, she's been working on her Dutch Beauty sampler piece, and so Charley drew some of the floral border, a little motif of the floral border on her mug, and also a funny expression coming out of some Ellen's mouth with some lipstick on her teeth, because that was from her first or second episode. Just a little funny thing. And so at the same time, I asked them if they would make a mug for me as well. And I wanted, it took me a while to think about what I wanted on it. And in full disclosure, Charley and John have actually sent me this as a gift to say thank you for, many of you fell in love with my Luna mug and purchased Christmas presents through them, through Charley and John, and are still purchasing Charley's artwork on John's mugs to this day. And so as a thank you for sending some business their way, Charley and John made this for me. So this was a gift. But I did purchase Ellen's mug, but I requested one for myself at the same time. And at the time, I think I thought maybe about putting a quilt block on it or something like that. But then Charley was getting ready to do the artwork on my mug, and we were discussing it again, and I was just finishing the bottom corner of Savon, the piece that this is based on. And I said, you know, do you think you could do that? Do you think you could maybe do some kind of representation of that on a mug? And she nailed it. I mean, look at it. Can you see close up? Look at that. I mean, that is highly recognizable as a piece that basically outlines the last 3 years of me being on Flosstube. That piece Savon has been with me the whole time. And so it's a really special memory. And yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled with this. And how cute. It's me with my big huge glasses. Apparently there was quite a discussion about the color of my eyes, which I find hilarious. And there's my little streaks of gray, which, by the way, I finally have a hair appointment next week for the first time in a 1.5 years. No joke. So I have been trimming my own hair for the last 1.5 years. It's so curly, you know, who cares? I don't care. But oh my gosh, I can't believe I have a hair appointment. It's very, very strange. So that arrived in the mail today, and I'm so in love with it. So I'm actually going to be packaging this back up and putting it back in its box to save for the move, which hopefully will still be on track to be the end of March. So instead for today, I made my coffee in another John mug. These were some mugs that I purchased over 1 year ago. The last time, not the last time, because Ellen's been to Manitoba a few times, but this was one of a pair of mugs that I bought and Ellen brought back for me when she came back to Ontario. And I love John's pottery. It's really beautiful, and it's just really nice to drink out of. So that's what I have my coffee in today. Oh, one more thing. Charley has started selling prints of her artwork in affordable print style instead of the painting. So she's taking a print of the painting, and this is a card this was what they wrote on. This was their card that they sent with the mug, and that is one of Charley's paintings. It's absolutely stunning. And what is really funny to me is the bags that I've been making in February. It's like, you know, life has a funny way of doing this sometimes, don't you think? The fabric, some of the fabric that I've been working with this month is this Tula Pink fabric, and the Leo&Roxy flosses are the purples. And look at Charley's artwork. I mean, come on. Like, how funny is that? It's such a beautiful painting, Charley, and it's just like another snapshot of my life. I love this. So maybe I need to buy a print for the new space. It's absolutely gorgeous. And there's a picture of John's. Oh my gosh, look at this. Oh, that's right. I forgot. He does he does urns for pets, for remembrance urns for your pets. Oh, that's so beautiful. And look at this bowl. Look at the leaves on that bowl. Beautiful work, John and Charley. Really, really beautiful work. Again, so that's canvas and clay. Their web address is www.aprariepotter.com, and I will link to that in the drop down box below. The other thing I received in the mail today, again, I am working on a color theme, people. It really is, it's quite remarkable how these things work. I bought myself a hat. I bought myself a hat from one of my favorite people, Dawn, who is my friend from Sarnia, one of the fabulous knitters of the Codependent Knitters, Dawn and Lisa of the Codependent Knitters. Dawn and I have been friends for a few years now, and she is a special, special lady, and her mother passed away recently, and so Dawn, in memorial for her mother, she was knitting and selling these hats using, there were patterns that she'd either already knit and she'd already made them, and so she was destashing them, or she was using yarn, special yarn that was already in her stash, and making these hats with pom-poms and selling them. And all of the money that she was raising, let me just look it up so that I make sure I get the right, she was, hang on a second, St. Joseph's Hospice. So all of the proceeds are being donated to St. Joseph's Hospice. Now, I'm not sure that she has any left. She sort of did this on Facebook to her, you know, immediate friend list. So I don't think this was a general codependent wide knitters thing. This was more of a personal thing from Dawn. But I wanted to support Dawn and you know, give a little something in memory of her mom. And I also thought the hat was absolutely beautiful, so win-win. And it arrived today. So Dawn, I got my hat. Do you want to see what it looks like on? I'm not, you can tell because I have so much hair, hats are generally not my friend. But when your friend makes a hat and it's purple and it's got a pom-pom, I think that's a little bit of all right. And she also sent me a burgundy bird of happiness. Dawn knit this. Look at that. Now, Dawn, you're gonna have to tell me, is there a pattern for the burgundy bird of happiness? Because now I want to make one too. I want to make a whole bunch of them and mail them out. Aren't they? Isn't it sweet? I love it. And look at that beautiful yarn. I mean, that is, let's make sure that focuses on the color of that yarn. There, look at that. It's so pretty. I love it. So that's the burgundy bird of happiness. And she also sent, you might remember a few years back I did a video with the Codependent Knitter Girls, and Lisa taught us how to make a hand balm with beeswax and shea butter and oh, I can't remember. I think it was it's not, was it olive oil? It wasn't olive oil. It was a different kind of oil. Avocado oil, maybe? I can't remember. And a little hint of an oil in there, just for a little bit of a scent. And I think, Dawn, I need to know where you got these tins, because these tins are beautiful. And what a sweet gift is that? I mean, that's just, I love this. This stuff, I use this all the time. I still have some from the original batch that I made with the girls. My memory card was full because I haven't deleted anything off of it in a while. So, sorry. Isn't it so cute? I love it. I love it. I have such a terrible head for hats. But you know what? I don't care. I love the hat. Love it. What was I saying? I was telling you about, I still have some of the original balm, B-A-L-M, from when I made it back then. And it's still just as nice as it was. It hasn't gone off in smell or anything. It's but now I have a new one. This one can go. You want to be careful not to leave these in your purse or your car, especially if you live in a warmer climate or you forget and it's like the middle of the Canadian summer, because they do melt. And if it's tipped on its side and it melts and the lid pops off or something, like this one has a screw cap, but sometimes those lids, you know, they snap on and off. That would be a really big mess. So you want to be careful that you're not leaving them somewhere where it might melt. And so yeah, that was my happy mail today. So okay, I'm gonna take my hat off now and try to see. This is big hair. I mentioned last year I lost a lot of hair. I've had a number of surgeries, minor surgeries. I think I've had in between 6 and 8 surgeries in the last 10 years. All minor procedures, but all needing a general anesthetic. And so from what I can tell, from what people have confirmed with me, is that those surgeries and the general anesthetic, each subsequent surgery, I lost more hair. A couple weeks after the surgery, it would start to fall out, and over the course of, 6 weeks, I would lose a lot of hair. And so that's why a lot of it has all come back in with the gray stripes, because that all fell out and grew back in gray. Lucky me. I don't mind so much, but I am going to get it colored next week. Can you tell I'm excited about the hair appointment? I know. So what was I saying? Oh, so I used to have like 10 times as much hair. So you can imagine how big my hair used to be. So I had quite a lot to pull from, I guess, as it were, as it fell out. So anyways, not sure how I got onto that topic, but let's move on. I have some funny stories for you today. Okay, are you ready for some stories? Some funny crafting stories today? And I will say not all of them are funny. Some of them are just great stories, and I love that too. So it doesn't have to be a funny story. If you've got a story to send me that you'd like me to share, even if it's as long as it's crafting related, clearly, then send it to me, and with a photo or anything like that, and I'm happy to pop that in so that we can all enjoy it. Okay, so today, the first story today comes from Rhonda. And Rhonda says, "Hi Caroline, years ago, probably 35 years or so, my friend and I attended the Canadian National Figure Skating Championships in Regina. The woman seated in front of us was cross-stitching, and we were watching her progress with interest, as we were both stitchers too. We took a break for an hour or so, and when we came back, we checked out the stitcher's progress. She was working on a pattern that looked like a star quilt block. She was happily stitching along and hadn't noticed that she was stitching one of the parts of the star the same as its neighbor, when it should have been a mirror image of it. For some reason, this poor woman's mistake struck us as exceptionally funny, and we started to giggle and we couldn't stop." I've had that happen to me before, and it's awful when you get the giggles, and it's not always an appropriate time to get the giggles, and no matter what you do, you cannot stop. And it's funny and horrifying at the same time. I'm if that's happened to you as well, you know exactly what I mean, because it's, you look like a lunatic, but you cannot stop yourself. I've had that happen. We couldn't stop. Every time we looked over the woman's shoulder, it brought on another fit of laughter. We actually had to leave the arena because people around us were so annoyed by our disruptive laughing. Even the stitcher turned around and glared at us and said, "Shh," which of course only made us laugh harder, as the poor woman didn't know what we were laughing about. Every time I pick up a piece of cross stitch, I think of that stitcher, and I vow to be mindful about my stitching. Yeah, so I have to know, did you ever tell her? Did you ever find her, like, you know, after the skating event and say, you need to check your stitching? I think oh my gosh, yeah, those giggle fits, they been there, done that. Thank you. Thanks, Rhonda. Thanks for telling me your story. Okay, next up, I have an email from Eleanor. Okay, so a new dog in the home of a knitter is guaranteed to generate funny stories. I always stow my knitting out of reach, but one day I must have left a stray ball of yarn somewhere within reach of not too trustworthy Bella, our chocolate labradoodle. I came home to find her standing very still in the middle of the dining room, head hanging in a telltale dip of shame. Hanging out of her mouth was a single strand of yarn. Oh dear. Quickly taking in this scene, my eyes followed the strand as it stretched off to the right and under the table. I had to make a decision. Was I going to cut the yarn and let nature take its course? The outcome could result in a very sick dog. I chose instead to start pulling the yarn out of Bella's mouth. I gently pulled and pulled and pulled. To my horror, I finally pulled out about 10 yards of wet yarn, smelling faintly of gastric juices. Bella was no worse for the experience. That ball did not go back into my stash. Well, I'm glad to hear that. That's just one of those times, right? I had a beagle. I used to have a beagle who loved to play with my yarn, but he never ate it. We did have, many of you will remember Daria, my golden retriever, and her favorite was that she used to love puzzle pieces. So if there was a jigsaw puzzle on the table, and if any of the pieces got knocked off onto the ground and we didn't notice that they were on the carpet, she would eat them. And of course we wouldn't discover that she had eaten them until, well, yeah, you don't need to know how I discovered that she was eating the puzzle pieces. That's not important. Anyway, Ellie, thanks for the story. Glad to know that Bella's okay. Okay, next up is a funny crafty story from Emily, and Emily is Sam and Katie's mom. So let's see here. This one is not about me, but my mother and something that took place when I was a child. My mother worked as a professional cake decorator for many years. My mother is also known to have something of a temper. Oh dear. She was working on a wedding cake and something was going wrong. Roses, I think, that despite her years of experience kept coming out lopsided on the flower nail, or which immediately deformed once on the cake. In frustration, my mother put her hands under the cake tier and threw it up in the air. My father, who will someday be canonized as the first Baptist saint, came home and found himself cleaning cake and icing off the dining room ceiling, which featured a grease spot for the remainder of our time living in that house. His only response to this whole debacle was that he was glad they had not yet installed a ceiling fan in the dining room. Oh my goodness. Oh, Emily. Okay, so Emily is, Emily, I mentioned Emily is Sam and Katie's mom. I mentioned Sam and Katie here on the channel every now and then. They are Emily's little children, and they like to watch the podcast when, especially when Luna features. They're big fans of Luna, and also both Sam and Katie have now started stitching themselves, which is very, very sweet. So you can check out Emily's Flosstube on Katie Bug Creations. And thanks, Emily. Thanks for the story. Okay, next up I have a funny story from Robin. And Robin says, oh, it's another sock story. Okay. I have a 4-year-old grandson, and it's become my habit that when I have finished knitting a pair of socks for myself, I will knit a pair of socks for one of my small grandchildren from the leftover yarn. The first time I did this was with the Codependent Knitters yarn. Oh, Codependent Knitters. The blue and the gray and the white stripe. My grandson saw those socks and he fell in love with them because his favorite color is blue. After I'd knit one sock, I decided I should take it over to his house and make sure that it fit him, because little feet grow pretty fast, and I had kind of made up my own pattern from Louise's basic sock pattern. We tried the sock on, all was well, but try to get it back off of his foot. He was running around the house saying, "Nana gave me a sock, Nana gave me a sock," and didn't see why he had to give it back to me. In his 4-year-old mind, having one sock was quite all right. I ended up taking a picture, so I had a fighting chance of making one that matched. Fast forward about a month, I get the other sock done. I take it over to his house, give him his second sock, and he says to me, "But you gave me a sock already." I had to keep a straight face and tell him that now he could have 2 socks, so that both of his feet would be warm. Lesson learned, 4-year-old children do not need 2 socks. One sock knit with love from their Nana is more than enough for them. That's so nice. Aww, that's really cute. That's really sweet. Thank you, Robin. Okay. Next up, I have a little story from Carol. And Carol writes, I was a legal secretary at a law firm. The first year that Christmas came, I cross-stitched an ornament for each of the attorneys I worked with. I proudly gave them their gift before Christmas. One of my coworkers came to me and said that my attorney asked her if I meant to misspell holiday. I was so embarrassed and went home that evening and quickly stitched another with the correct spelling. The next day I handed the new ornament to my attorney and said the first ornament was a first draft. Fortunately, I worked with an attorney with a good sense of humor. That's really good. First draft. I love that. Okay, I have got one final story for you today. One last story, and this story is from Jeannette. And remember I told you that not all of the stories were funny stories. Some of them were just, you know, special crafting stories. Well, this is a crafting love story. And Jeannette sends the following. Caroline, this story is about me, my mother crafting, and love. To start, my parents moved in with me after my husband had passed away. My dad had Parkinson's and I was the person to help. Let's put it this way, you don't know your parents until they move in with you. Let's jump ahead 15 years and my dad passes away. My mother and I have crafted every day together since they moved in. You name it, we have done it. Now the love story begins. 2 years have passed and my mother had surgery on her knee. Nothing really major, but she had to walk more. So in the South, it is so hot here, we walk in stores and malls. So today, we are at Hobby Lobby walking and shopping. I have a small basket and I needed a cart. So I leave my mother in the sewing area with patterns, books, and a chair to sit in. I go up front to get a cart and come back and my mother is gone. Walker and all. What? I try her cell phone, no answer. I do GPS on her phone and it looks like she's still in the store. I look everywhere. I'm scared. I have my mother paged and I wait. The cashier gets a phone call that my mother is in the back at the manager's office. Okay, she is safe, but why is she back there? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I can breathe. I walk back to where they said the manager's office was, and there is my mother talking to this very nice looking gentleman. He is about my mother's age, and they are having coffee, laughing, and he just touched my mother's arm. Wait, what? I just stand there with my mouth open as this man is talking and laughing with my mother, and her cheeks are red, not pink, but red. I move and they see me. The gentleman stands and he has a cane too. I walk over and he introduces himself to me. He apologizes for taking my mother away without thinking I would be looking for her. The manager comes over and introduces himself that Mr. Jim is his father. And he just had knee surgery also and was walking in the store. The next thing I know, we're at Hobby Lobby every day walking, and just by chance, Mr. Jim is there. For the next 2 months, I walked and shopped every day at Hobby Lobby because my mother had a walking date with Mr. Jim. I was never so happy as when Mr. Jim announced that his doctor had released him to drive. This is how, for the love of crafting and knee surgery, that my mother found a boyfriend and I got a discount card. It helps when your mother is dating the manager's dad. If you like this, it's okay to read. Nanette, I'm more than like that. I love that. I love it so much. And you got a discount card. Well, congratulations. And what a great story. That is just so sweet. How wonderful is that? Thank you, Nanette, for sharing that with all of us. I think that's a great way to wrap up our stories for today. And that's it for me today. I will be back on Monday with an update of everything personal crafting wise that I've been working on since I shared it with you last Monday. And a little bit of shop information for today. I am, by the time this video is up, the remainder of the purple Leo&Roxy floss that I have will be listed in the shop. And because I was able to, there should be some, the vamp was a little tricky. Carrie had some trouble with the first time that she tried to redo it, and she had to redo it again. So the third batch of vamp, she thinks has turned out. So we'll have to see whether or not that makes it in. Future editing Caroline here, just to pop in for a moment and say, unfortunately, there was another, Carrie's really struggling with the next lot of vamp. So hopefully there's some coming next week, but I don't have any right now. So all of the purples that are left in the shop are the other 4 beautiful colors. And so if you were hoping to have some of the individual colors, they're there. So that's www.evertote.com. And that's it. It is, it's the weekend. So I hope that you're well. I hope that you're safe, and that you will have some crafting things to keep you occupied this weekend, just for sheer pleasure. And I will see you on Monday. So until then, take care, everybody. Happy stitching.